Hey everyone, I'm Clayfect, and today we are going to dive right back into the world of the unseen creatures by Richard Barlow. Now, have you ever tried losing your keys only to find them a weird place where you have no idea how they got there? Well, it happened to me numerous of times, so that is why today we are going to make the Keyster, a grumpy little fella that apparently has an obsession with keys. Feel free to pause if you want to look some more at the pages, but for me I am just so eager to sculpt this little thing while we hear some of Richard Barlow's notes. So, without further ado, let's get started, guys.
He took 100 pounds of clay, and then he said, hey listen, I'm gonna fix this world today, because I know what's missing.
So like always, we are going to start with the amateur, building a strong, sturdy star shape for our little unseen creature, before I bulk up with some aluminium foil. Now I will admit it does make it look like a weird burger spider for a time, but I promise we are going to get past that and make it look somewhat decent. Now, I don't always mention it in my videos, but I do have a tendency to name things. Also these sculptures, and I was debating on naming this one for burger because I really think it ended up looking like a burger bun for a while. But then Mr. Clayfect came and said no, his name is Keith. Keith the Keyster. And if you know me, you know I can't argue with that kind of logic. So, while I put some more clay on little Keith here and begin to work on the legs, why don't we hear a little bit more about the Keyster from Mr. Barlow?
Richard Barlow, log, the Keyster, 30th of August 1949. One of the most aggressive and territorial unseen creatures I have ever encountered must be the Keyster. As big as a normal rabbit and built like a tank, you would think these creatures slow and easy to spot. But that doesn't seem to be the case. The Keyster's suction cup feet makes it possible to climb on any smooth surfaces, making our human houses ideal for them, especially combined with their chameleon-like shell that blends them perfect into the environment. And them being nocturnal makes them almost impossible to spot. We would probably never have noticed their existence were it not for their tendencies to borrow our keys.
Now, before we get started on the suction cup toes, oh my god. If I didn't have Richart Barlows Journal, then I would think that it was a crazy person that thought up these creatures. Anyway, before I do the toes, I start working on the belly. And since there isn't really any description of it, I sort of had to get out of my shell. Get it? The shell? Anyway, to make a decent bottom for our little Keyster. I tried some different designs, but they just looked wrong for some reason. So I end up settling down on this turtle-like pattern with a hint of fantasy, and I actually think it went rather well. With his bottom sketched out, so to speak, I start working on the tail and thereafter the antler thingies that would go on the shell to hold the keys. I made them out of Cosclay. And while I do that, why don't we hear a little bit more from the mystery journal?
The Keyster is attracted to anything shiny and is obsessed with the clicking sound that occurs when two pieces of metal meet, making our human keys too tempting not to borrow. Though being aggressive and territorial towards each other, they are quite polite to us humans, being fully aware of their place in nature's food chain. So if it's a set of keys that are often used, the Keyster always try to put them back. Sadly, the force of gravity when they climb vertical surfaces and their bad short-term memories means they 99.4% of the time often misplace our keys, to answer to what they use our keys for, and all disregarded keys for, is simple: mating and to show their power to any rival keister that dares trespass onto their territory. They have these dances where they jiggle their body, providing what they deem to be music, thanks to the keys they have obtained. The bigger the opponent, the harder to jiggle. Though, when it comes to mating, the only way I can describe it is a slow, very meaningful boogie.
The Keyster's dance must really be a sight to see with that body stature. Anyway, with the last of the details on the neck and the feet, I start working on the head. Now, while I was doing that, I was actually scheming because I had decided I had to investigate some more in this unseen journal and who this Richard Barlow is. Starting out with this Mary character that he mentioned earlier when we made the wheeling, link down in the description below. So in order of trying to get anything out of Mr. Clayfect, I tried the art of seduction. And I will say right away, guys, it didn't go as planned. So I made him his favorite drink in order of painting the way for the seduction. But that is when things started to go wrong, because after a few hours he wasn't at all in any state of mind that any seduction could occur. So I thought some food in his system might clear his mind a bit. But the problem with that was I really can't cook, like at all. So long story short, we sort of ended up in the emergency room, where we found out that he had gotten food poisoning for some reason. In my opinion, his stomach was a bit over dramatic, puking all over the place, but that's what happened, guys. So I really didn't get anything out of him. I got so frustrated. So in the hospital, I might have yelled out a little bit too loud. Will you please just tell me about Mary? To answer that, Mr. Clayfect just looked at me and asked me, did you really just poison me in order for me to tell you about my great grandmother? And you guys know me, I would never poison Mr. Clayfect on purpose. But things are a little bit cold between us now. His expression when he looks at me actually looks a bit like the Keyster, if I have to be honest. But I will make it right somehow. I have to. So my question isn't actually about the story, but about how to save my marriage. I could go the traditional flour and chocolate way with him, or I could conduct some sort of plan that will put me in Mr. Clayfect's favor again. Leave a comment down below what you think I should do. And if you're not subscribed, why not do that while you're at it if you like what I'm doing. Also, a like on this video really goes a long way and help me out a lot. So while you're hopefully doing that, and I am making the shell, why don't we hear a little bit more from Richard Barlow.
The Keyster's dance is one of the reasons you sometimes hear strange noises in the night. My parents had me committed for just that. I got up one night to have a glass of milk, only to find two Keysters on a kitchen table, jiggling their behinds off. In a fierce battle for dominance, you would think it would be the male Keysters that is the most aggressive ones. But in fact, it's the females, because the male seems to have a sense of warrior honor amongst themselves, while the female fights to the end, using any means necessary. So I did not just find two Keysters with my parents' keys. They had also weaponized themselves with some of our cutlery in their mouth. Unfortunately for me, my retelling of that night's drama was the last drop for my parents, and they had me committed.
Wait, he was what now? Oh, poor Mr. Barlow. No wonder Mr. Clayfect don't want to talk about him. Well, now it all makes sense. Anyway, with the texture on the shell and the skin done, it was time to be baked, and then it's painting time. Now, there isn't really any description in the journal, to what color our little Keyster should be. But for some reason I picture it a dark blue, since it is a nocturnal creature. So I went with a blue and purple color scheme, which apparently was a mistake, but you're going to hear about that later. At that point I just went in with a dark blue wash in all the crevices in order to give some shadows, before I dry brushed him with a little bit of a lighter blue. Now, since it is a nocturnal creature and there wouldn't be that much light, I was very subtle with all my effect painting, you can say. Now for the shell I went in with a dark purple, and if you look at the book, then you're going to see there is this symbol of a key right there in the corner of the book. And underneath it, it says shell marking. Now I don't know why a Keyster have a key on its shell as a marking, but we are going to recreate it the best that we can. And with that painted, all I needed was for Mr. Clayfect to resin print some keys for me that I thereafter painted. But while I'm doing that, why don't we hear the last about the Keyster?
Thankfully Mary, that kind creature, if not a believer of the unseen creatures, does support me, which is important, especially since both Mark and Max are beginning to see the unseen too. It was actually Max that discovered the Keyster's urge to scrape any rust and dirt of any shiny objects in our house. They are not miracle workers, but our silverware would have been in a much worse condition if not for them. And that is not the only benefit they bring us. Their main food source is insects, which is not only convenient for us, but also indicates they are vital to our ecosystems. So in conclusion, the Keysters are impressive in their own way, and are a part of our lives, whether we like it or not. So I say, let them be, let them dance, let them do their butt jiggle for all humankind.
So I think we can safely conclude that he was married to Mary, and they had 2 boys together. And not just that, apparently the boys had the same gift as their father. Which is very interesting, because something weird actually happened while I was making the Keyster. Mr. Clayfect saw it and was almost annoyed when he said that it was the wrong color shell. Now, I have my artistic freedom, so we got into a sort of heated debate about the color of the shell. But since I had tried to seduce him and had given him food poisoning in the process, I sort of felt like I owed him to repaint the shell in the color that he preferred. But that leaves me with a big question. Why does he care so much about how the Keyster looks? The mystery just keeps evolving, and I want to get to the bottom of this, guys. But first, we got to save my marriage. So again, please write down in the comments below, what do you think I should do? At least Mr. Clayfect seemed happy when I showed him the finished Keyster. Not enough to get me off the couch, but still he seems less displeased with me. But with the last keys on, guys, I actually think that is it for this sculpture and it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this mystery, and of course I hope you adore the Keyster just as much as I do. I just had so much fun making it, but then again, I always have fun making these unseen creatures. So I hope you're not tired of them yet, because we have a lot more to go. But with that being said, guys, it is time for me to sign off. I hope to see you next time, but if you can wait until next time, why not click on the square to your right, where you're going to see a weird little weedling get made. But until then, bye!